Hi, my name's Rob. I'm a freelance textile designer, and just going to show you through some of my toolkit. So for starters, I'm going to start making a engineered border print. So the first thing I want to do is actually have a ruler and a set square, and I'll get to that later. So I've got that. I've got some watercolors here. So this is just a basic, like, cheap set I bought from Eckersley's. So it kind of just comes out. It's pretty handy. It's a good little travel kit. And I've got a fancier one here too, which is like a Winsor Newton one. But that's pretty good. I've got a kneadable eraser, which I just keep in an old film canister, just to prevent it from getting dusty, because it usually picks up a lot of like pencil shavings and stuff. I've also got some Winsor Newton colour markers. They're watercolor markers, so they're pretty handy. You can, you know, make your markings here and stuff, and just add a bit of water, and they blend really well. Keep in mind, you want to use watercolor paper with this. I've tried it on just regular sketchbook paper, and it's just, it's not quite the same. It doesn't bleed the same way. So yeah, and I've just got this just basic paintbrush. I've got quite a fine tip because I'm going to be doing quite fine tip painting today. Yeah. First thing I want to do is I'm going to make a border print, and I'm going to start with getting my ruler and just a pencil, just like a 2B, and I'm just going to do a really light line like this. Okay, so this is actually going to be the repeat that's going to be mirrored on both sides. And to actually make the length of the border, I'm going to use a set square here to make sure I can get some 90-degree angles. I'm just going to break it into one larger piece here. It's going to be separated by a smaller section here. Do another piece here, and then there'll be another small border here. So I'm going to go for kind of like a Persian design. So I want to start, what I want to create is this kind of shape here. You see it in a lot of, like, you know, Islamic textiles, this kind of onion-shaped print, and break it into some, you know, repeat florals here. But if I'm making this kind of as a border, whoops, I want to think about it in terms of the kind of efficiency of not having to draw the whole element when I'm thinking of it as a mirrored repeat. So the best way to think about it is to look at each element, and if we draw a vertical line through the center, your repeat tile for that first border stage is just going to be something like that. So you don't actually have to need to paint any detail in here or here, anything outside of that. And then you can conclude, you know, additional information here if you want, and it'll all just make it a kind of more kind of complex, interesting print. Just going to put some kind of embellishments on it like that. You know, you can draw the full thing if you want as a guide, but you don't have to be too detailed. I'm going to go over this with pen later anyway, so. And keep in mind, it's something, if you're going to put it into Photoshop, there's a good chance you are going to scale it down eventually. which means you don't have to be super fussy about details. So you can work, you know, you can work quite quick if you need to. Sort of like that. For the second one, I'm going to do something similar, but just reversed. So it'll be like a two-directional print. So I might bring this one down like something like that. And I might do maybe curves, some curls coming up here. Something like this. And similar here. So we'll have kind of one of these like Turkish style florals coming out like that. For this border, I might actually put maybe a diamond shape here. So again, I'm just going to be measuring the halves here. So it's good to, anytime you're going along this repeat line, you want to draw your element that's been split in half. And again, you know, you're not completing the whole thing, you're just doing what's relevant. I'm just going to get got these Unipin fine liners. It's really important to note, if you're using any art lines, you want them to be, you want to make sure they don't dissolve in water. So water and fade proof. So if you get your regular like cheap art line pens and then you put on watercolor paper and then you add a bit of water, it's just going to bleed everywhere. So just make sure you get that. And I'll just check, I've worn this nib down a bit, so it might be a bit tricky, but let's have a go at the other one. So I'm just doing it really fine. Keep in mind when you are actually, these are going to digital printing, the fine line can have some trouble showing up depending on the print style. But here I'm just using it as just kind of blocking out the shapes that I'm going to use, which I'm going to fill with watercolor later. Okay. I'm just going to clean it up now. What I might do first, before I clean up my pencil, is I'm just going to make a little pen mark here and here. And that'll help me when I go into Photoshop. I can put my guides in here. The kneadable eraser's handy, not just because you can get the fine points on it, but it doesn't collect the graphite as much, so it doesn't really smudge your pencil as much as a regular eraser. Okay. Okay, so you might want to think about doing mixing some colors, maybe thinking about looking at some color inspo. Sometimes I'll just wing it and I can edit the colors later in Photoshop. It's good if you've got strong colors. It's good to start with. If you've got bold colors, it's easier to go and desaturate them later in Photoshop. If you've got like strong blues and these like strong reds, if you think you're never necessarily locked into one color palette, because I can take those two colors, use a hue saturation filter, and then put them anywhere on the spectrum, And if I want to knock it back a bit, I can just use desaturation. Okay, so I'm actually going to use the blue to colour in the negative space here. And it's okay to go way outside the top line here because I'm actually going to crop it. Now, of course, you could, if you wanted, you could scan just the pen line in and colour it digitally if you want. If you do go down that path, you can have the advantage of having really clean colour separation in your file. But the disadvantage is you don't really get the same kind of organic feel of hand paint. There's something about it that's, you can tell immediately. So of course, if you want it like a fresher looking print, you don't have to paint the background, you keep it white and just paint the elements. But I'm just going for something a bit kind of darker here. And if you use something like this colour, you can use it in small sections throughout different parts of your print, so it kind of brings in I have a sense that it's like kind of continuing through. Maybe it just feels a bit more tonally balanced now. Yeah, so you can take something like that, and when we've cropped this, we can actually make multiple versions. We can make a copy of this in a different colorway, and that can actually be a single tile as we bring it down. So yeah, that's just like kind of the first stage of building the elements of a border print. So I would normally at this stage scan it, but you can also, if you're kind of out and about, you might just want to photograph it. So I'm just going to grab my camera. So I've just got a little handy compact camera here. And I'm just going to put it on, I'll just put on the largest file size. And okay, so I've opened up my photograph into Photoshop, and it's looking a little bit dark, so I'm just going to brighten it a little bit. So I've got my layers palette here, and I'm just going to double click the background just to make it a working layer. I'm just going to go down to here and go levels. I'm just going to just bring them up a little bit here, so it's a bit nicer. Okay. And I'm just going to hold down Shift, select both of those, and then just go merge. So I can merge that. Now, the first thing I want to do is actually just crop this section out. But you'll see how when I've put it in, it's actually on a bit of an angle. If I go to View Rulers, see these rulers appear, I can actually bring guides in over here. And you'll notice if I align that top one, this one down the bottom here, it's not quite right. So what I'm going to do is I'll just go hide, I'll just clear those guides for a minute. To actually align it perfectly, I can go over here to my my eyedropper. If I hold down the eyedropper tool, I get this ruler tool. I can select this point and go right bang to this point. And if I go to up here, go image rotation, arbitrary, it puts in the angle here where I can actually just go okay, and it'll actually fix that. So when I bring the guide in again, you'll see it's now perfectly aligned. I can do the same over here. So whoop, I'll just go Command Z to bump that one a bit. I like to zoom in a bit actually to get in a bit closer. So I'm just using the scrubby zoom there. Okay, so here I'm just going to go to now my rectangular marquee, and I'm just going to pull out just maybe something like that. I'm just going to hit Command or Control J, and you'll see here that's just copied the selection onto a new layer. So if I turn that off, you get that. So I can hide those guides now, so I can go, I can just clear them actually, so I don't need them anymore. Okay, so from here it's pretty simple. There's not much to be done except just repeating it as a mirrored tile. So if I hold down Alt and Shift, I can drag a copy across here like this. And if I Command or Control T, it brings up my transform controls, which means I can now right click and flip horizontal, enter to apply, holding down Shift again, bringing it in close. And once it's met like that, I can select both layers, Command E, and that will merge them. And what I'll do is I'll Command T again, I'll make it a bit smaller so we can see as we fill it across. I'm going to hit Command E each time. And then Alt, Shift, drag again. You'll see there might be a line that appears there, but if you zoom it disappears. Don't need to worry about that. It's just a screen thing. And you can kind of see from what was like a fairly simple drawing on paper, the more you repeat it like this, so Command T again, I'm just going to bring it in, you get kind of interesting looking tiles like that. And you can even take, say, another section. If I go Control, Command, click on the layer, and I can go here to my, say, hue saturation. And I can do maybe a slightly different color version here. I can play with the saturation. I can merge this now to apply, so it's Command E. I might do the same up here with this one, so I'm going to Command or Control click this top one. I might desaturate that just to bring the colors down a little bit because they're a bit intense. Something like that. And E. And I can even merge those two now. You can actually crop that as your complete repeat tile. You can also do some interesting things if you want to create some interesting patchwork prints. If you go Command T and holding down Shift, if you hold down Shift, you see you can rotate this block now at a 45-degree angle. If I hit Apply, or Enter to apply, and I go to my marquee, I can bring this across, Command J, I'm just going to hide the one underneath. I'm going to go Command T again, Shift and rotate so it locks back. Now I can use this piece as a corner tile. So I can go Alt, Shift, drag, Command Control T, right click, flip horizontal, enter to apply, bring it across again. I might just use my cursor keys to bring it in a bit neater. This looks like it's out by a tiny bit. You can always zoom in if you feel like you're a bit worried about where it's cropping. And hit Command or Control E again. I'll just bring this tile in. And repeat the process. So Alt, drag, Command T, bring it across. And I can actually start to piece together my tile like this. So you can see with something that's quite a small design originally is now very easily transformed into some quite interesting tile. It's like quite a, whoops, I just hit escape. If you end up like doing something like that, you can just hit escape and you can get back. But yeah, you can create interesting tiles like this. And I can use that same technique as before if I want to now go across here, so I'm just using Alt. Whoops. And then if I say wanted to bring one in here, just bring that across. You know, I can click Command click on that tile again, and then use my hue saturation again, and I can make this, you know, another kind of interesting colorway. And maybe bring the saturation down a bit, and then build my tile from there. Oh, I want to apply that first. Oops. So, and E to merge. Yeah, so you can see that's just from a very simple illustration at the beginning that we've tiled as a border, and then I've now created a new kind of square, like a scarf tile from it. So yeah, and then to get the repeat there, you would just, all you'd need to do is crop from the center here and the center here again, and then flip it. But yeah, that's just some basics in putting together a repeat tile with using a border design with just a few simple elements. So yeah. Okay, so these are just some headers from my portfolio. So I thought I'd show you some actual printed material. So the same way we did that border, you'll see that like it's really, the original might have been just probably drawn like that. This wasn't painted on paper, this was all like digitally colored, so I'd just done it in a pen, like a fine liner, and then just colored it digitally. But you'll see like I've got multiple borders here, and then a kind of just ran like a repeat up the top, non-border repeat, and then it breaks up and then just continues along. Same with kind of this one. Another one that's just pen and digitally coloured, and I'm just lots of variations of borders here. So it's all stacked on the one piece. Same here, except I've broken it up with a paisley in the middle, and I've tried to make some more interesting compositions here, so it's not just border. So you can see that. This one was actually done entirely with pencil, and the colours were just inverted. So you can see here that's just pencil that's been would colour a whole section and then crop it in different parts. All this white section is just pencil that's been inverted. The black is the paper. Here's just a watercolour tropical floral. You've got, this was originally black ink, inverted again. This one was entirely done in Photoshop, just drawing on a Wacom tablet. So just freehand drawing different elements and pulling them together. These are all small watercolor elements, and then deep etched and then rearranged with a little bit of color manipulation. And this is from actually just a photograph of some plants in my backyard that I deep etched, put some color overlay, and then made a kind of photographic tropical print.